Today we are back for our first transfer special here at Union Berlin. Last episode, what a day. Since then, a little bit's happened, including plans, because today we have to try and replace Datro Fofana. It's only the 9th of June. I might have already replaced him. Yes, folks, how is it going? Welcome back to Building Berlin. Today is episode number 9. Today is a transfer special. Just a little reminder, with this save game, we can only sign one non-German player per season. That is our wildcard player. Last year, that man, Alex Scott, very, very good striker for us, hit the ground running at 20 years old. He looks like a bargain at £11.5 million, although if you've played FM this year, you kind of already knew that. Now, I'm hoping most of you saw this. Over on the community page on YouTube, I asked you guys about the possibility of, with the transfer rules, just tweaking them a tiny bit. Over 10,000 of you voted on this poll, and the poll basically was, do we make Switzerland, Austria, and Liechtenstein players exempt from the wildcard? Over 75% of people voted yes, those players should be allowed to be signed not as wildcards, but I've decided to mix things up just slightly. And so alongside being able to sign German players and one wildcard player, we are going to be allowed every season to sign one Swiss, Austrian, or Liechtensteiner player. Of those nations, there's actually only 1,500 players, but it is going to open up some opportunities, and that limit comes into effect today. So we're only allowed to sign one of these players. I suppose theoretically that transfer restriction change makes things a tiny bit easier, but in the Bundesliga, it's fairly standard for players to come from those countries, especially the Austrian League and the Swiss League, and make their names in Germany. So I felt like it made sense for the save game. So that brings us on to the next thing, replacing Datro Fofana. And that brings me onto this screen here where Arsen Zakharyan, a player who I signed last year when I managed Atalanta in FM22, I have the ability to sign on a free transfer. So this is a little bit of a shot in the dark, but I was just looking through potential signings to make, and I noticed when looking at players with contracts expiring in 1 year, Zakharyan was very high up on this list. He is 21 years old. He is a Russian international, part Armenian as well. You might remember in real life, he very nearly moved to Chelsea, but in real life, he's been linked with a lot of clubs. Interesting to note, I have got him scouted, but I actually know absolutely nothing about him, and that's because the person who did the scout report was my assistant manager. Saying that, I think that is actually a bug, and I think the reason it's shown as my assistant manager is because actually I have recently fired a load of members of staff. Yeah, one thing I neglected to do last year was sort out my recruitment team and medical team, so I have started to do that a little bit. A load of new staff members you can see here. Big improvements in these areas, but I think amongst all these scouts whose contracts were mutually terminated because their contracts had expired, I have fired the person who scouted Zakharyan. Ordinarily, that wouldn't be a problem because in this situation here, I would just delay the transfer and scout him again. Here is where the problem lies. Because this is a pre-contract agreement, not a transfer fee, I only have the option to accept or cancel this, and this is my wildcard transfer for the coming season, potentially being used. But I feel like I have to do it. First and foremost, he's had an amazing season playing in the Russian Premier League. 8 assists, 2 goals, 3 player of the matches for a player who's only just turned 21. It's a great little return. He is a player who can play the same position as Fofana out on that left-hand side. What he lacks in pace versus Fofana, I feel like he makes up for in his mentals and his technicals. Certainly a different kind of player, but the kind of player that to bring in on a free transfer for us is a massive, massive coup. And on top of all of that, he is also a super versatile player. The kind of player who, if German players exist in other areas of the pitch and I spot them and can sign them for reasonable prices, our plan of playing him out on the wing can change slightly. All of that to say, I think I'm going to sign him, and that will then leave us with £21 million to go out there and sign one wildcard player from the other German-speaking countries, and then German players, of which I have got my eye on a few already. Before I sign any of those players, though, I would like to get this first team whittled down a little bit. I've removed here the players that were in on loan last year whose loans haven't ended yet. We currently have a squad of 26 players. It's already a little on the big side. One thing that's hopefully going to make that easier is the fact that we actually have a second team coming along, hopefully, in 2 weeks. Yeah, at the moment, we only have our under-19s and the main teams. Obviously, in Germany, it's kind of normal for you to have your second team. We've not had one for the last year, so that's an exciting thing. That may see a few of these players in the kind of 19, 20-year-old range who aren't quite first team ready move into that squad by the end of the month. Now, unfortunately, I have no idea what the pros and cons are for Zakharyan, but the pros being his current ability here and the fact he's a free transfer mean I'm willing to take a punt on him. So we're just going to hit the big accept button, and I'm now going to claim, very naively, on the 10th of June, I have now replaced our star player adequately. Whether or not it's going to prove to be an adequate replacement, I suppose, remains to be seen. Now, to be honest, initially I wasn't planning on coming back as early as I am right now because it is still June. Transfer window doesn't open till July. So, opening of this video, I'm going to try and sort out the staff, and we have a new scouting budget, which is all very exciting, and more staff that I'm signing. Nicholas Santi Aguiar, 30 years old, 20 physiotherapy. Sorry, Rob, but you're fired. I'm just going to replace him now. That was cooler in my head. Now, despite the fact I'm not desperate to make a load of transfers right now, I am in the process, if I'm not mistaken, of scouting all of the different youth players in all the different national youth teams of Germany, because obviously this is going to be a main source of players in the immediate future, I think. I don't really need more centre-backs, but Bright Arsen B is a player who I've had many times in Football Manager save games in years gone by. He's part English, part German. He's 21 years old, and he might be available for a reasonable price. In fact, he might be available for less than £2 million, and I think he's probably worth it at that price. You know, I don't really need more centre-backs, but Diogo Leite's left the club for 11 million. I kind of need a replacement for him, even if we've already got players. I feel like Arsen B just makes sense, and also 1.2 million for him. What, 1.3 million? 1.3 million. I feel like that's a bargain. Am I an idiot? That's a really good deal, I feel like. Talked about it last episode. Leite is leaving the club for £11 million. Can we just compare him with Bright Arsen B? I mean, don't get me wrong. He's a better version of Arsen B, but I don't feel like there is £9 million different, especially for a backup in the squad, and especially because Arsen B could get better. I'm now sat thinking, are there more bargains in this squad that I should be looking at sooner, like this guy who, I mean, he's good. He's not as good as the star rating suggests, is he? Paul Nebel? Yeah, he's not as good as the stars suggest either. I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to wait for all the scout reports to come in, and if any stand out, we'll make some moves. But Arsen B, I've signed him before. Friend of me personally, I feel like at this point. Do you ever have that? Build up friendships with players in Football Manager? Maybe that's just a me thing. His wage demands are reasonable for a backup. This is going to be a no-brainer to get done early. 4-year deal signed, £16,000 a week. I am happy. Hanover want him back on loan for the year? Absolutely not. I do feel like I've got this weird addiction to centre-backs. We've got players like Mousehund here, who is a good little centre-back with potential, but probably not quite first-team ready. The kind of player who's ideal for the second team when it comes about. Azevedo as well, probably not good enough for the first team, but very, very good for a second team. Loads of potential. And even Linus Gekter here. I don't feel like he is quite as good as MB, but he is a year younger. And of course, he has just been out on loan at Kaiserslautern. He's the kind of player who, again, just perfect fits for a second team. The kind of player who could be a useful kind of backup centre-back in case of injuries, but in reality will be hopefully content just chilling it out with a second team. And here we have a load of scout reports coming in for players who, well, they're playing in all the youth teams. We've just scouted them en masse. Are any of these any good? I mean, this guy, A+. Philip Schulz, it's another centre-back. I don't need another centre-back, but he is really good. No, I don't need him. Jack, stop it. According to the Totally Football Show, Heinz could be the centre of transfer speculation because of his release clause of 6.5 million. If I got 6.5 million for him, would I be happy? He's 30 years old. He's about to turn 31. I've got MB who's coming in, who's probably not quite as good, but I mean, he wouldn't want to be the backup, but could be. I feel like losing him for that release clause probably wouldn't actually be that bad. That is really famous last words. Laduni wants a new contract. Of course he does. We can't afford it. Things can't be handed out for free. He wants to consider his options. That's less than ideal. I mean, what is the contract situation at the club? How many players have contracts expiring at the end of next year? The answer is 6 players. And when I look through this 6, are there any that I'm super desperate to keep hold of at all costs? I mean, Schäfer here, he's already been trying to force a move. He's transfer listed by request and no one wants him. I guess Forsby we'd probably want to keep around. He's a useful player, especially with the model professional personality. Jordan, I don't know how I feel about Jordan. He's wanted by some teams. Norwich want him. Norwich could have Logan Sargent and Jordan alongside each other. Given his transfer value, I'm just gonna offer him out. I know we probably shouldn't be offering out more of our strikers, but let's just see if Norwich City want him. And then the other 3 players with contracts expiring. Haberer is a good player, but is just on the older side of things. The kind of player who, if the terms are right, I'd probably renew his contract later on. Draxler and Plattenhardt, I don't quite feel like we have to be as desperate to renew the contracts of. I might be shooting myself in the foot monumentally here, but we've had some bids for Jordan. Werder Bremen have come in with 6 million. Feyenoord have offered 5.5, and Freiburg have also offered 5.5. We'll start with Freiburg here. How about 5 million now and 5 million in 6 months? They've offered 6.5. Feyenoord, how about 8 million? They've lost 6.5. Right, Werder Bremen, I know we've had our disagreements over recent times. Will you do 8 million for him? Never mind. So I think what I'm going to do is, because the offer from Feyenoord is the team that he wants to go to, I'm going to accept this one. I'm then going to reject the Freiburg offer, and then I'm going to offer him out again and see if anyone will offer a little bit more than that £6.5 million bid we received. I do realise at the same time I'm trying to sign him, I probably, it's a bit of a big probably should be looking at German strikers. I did have all these recruitment focuses set up with scouts looking at players, and then I sacked all the scouts. So now it's all reset and the assignments are going again. That's a problem, isn't it? I feel like a striker is something that we knew we were going to need to get anyway, just because of the injuries we've got. If Jordan's leaving the club, that maybe gives us some money. I'm currently looking at players transfer listed who are one of the many nationalities that we could sign a player for. I'll be honest, when I'm looking through these players, I'm not getting super excited. I mean, Choupo-Moting's appearing on the list. Sasa would be good. I don't think he's worth spending my entire transfer budget on, though. Probably a tad ambitious to be hoping there's a player with a contract expiring that we could sign. I mean, there is Marco Grull here, who is an Austrian international striker. He is not good enough. In terms of just strikers in general, I mean, there's some good players here. I guess it comes down to who's actually worth the price. And I was going to say Christoph Baumgartner here would be a great pickup from Leipzig, but he's already agreed to permanently move to Southampton. So that deal's not happening. Remember when Karim Adeyemi was good for like one football manager? He doesn't seem as good as he was once upon a time now. He doesn't want to join me anyway. Also, not sure why I'm looking at him. I've not got £56 million. All I'm looking for is a striker under the age of 23. I mean, I'd say that like, how hard can it be? It turns out rather difficult. Although, Felix Nemecha, he looks really, really good at centre mid for the price. There's probably quite a lot of Dortmund players unhappy because they haven't got European football. Does he want to join us? This could be a very, very reasonable deal. I can see it now. We'll have Felix next to Alex Scott. That's the midfield of dreams right there. Look at that. That is dreamy. I mean, I wasn't dreaming of it until now. I'm a little bit conscious that a lot of signings I made last year involved installments, and I don't want to turn into Mr. Installments. So instead, I'm just going to start low and see kind of a rough idea of what kind of money we might need to offer here. They want Florian Flick as part of an exchange. I mean, Flick's not on the table. No. Remove and exclude. I'll give you 2 million. What do you think? They want nearer 5 million. 5 million? 5 million. I feel like 5 million's probably a good deal there. It is also half of it spread out over a number of years. He's not really the striker I was looking for, mind you. but I feel like we probably would have ended up signing him anyway. If you're wondering what my squad planning was looking like, in terms of the starting 11, this was the team that I was happy with starting. Needed a centre mid, needed a wide man. We've got Zakharyan in. Nemecha would be a good player for that box-to-box midfielder role. We might have a striker. I say that. We need to find the striker still. And I do still need a player to play out on the right. Whilst I'm not 100% happy with the defence, and it is a little on the older side, we've got so many young defenders in the ranks, it's not as much of an immediate concern. I have just noticed here, Laduni's value is really, really high, and he's unhappy at the club. He wants a new contract. Apparently he's worth 15 to 18 million. I'm going to offer him out. Probably won't get a bid for him, but we can try and get a bid for him. Okay, Dortmund have accepted our bid for Felix. Felix wants to be a star player, wants a big wage rise. I can make you an important player. He really wants to be a star. Okay, you can be the star of our midfield. He wants £37.5 thousand a week. That is very similar, incidentally, to what we have offered Zakharyan. That minimum release clause has to go. That sell-on percentage has to go. How does that look? I think he hates me. Right, we're going to negotiate this hard. I'll give you £39,500. He's a tough cookie, but £40,000, 4-year deal. Am I crazy thinking he's a really good centre mid option? I feel like for £5 million, it's a reasonably good deal. I know he's not shone at Dortmund this year, just gone, but no one really has. And at 23 years old, he ticks a lot of boxes for me. Laduni was our regular starter in that box-to-box midfielder area for a lot of last season. When you compare these two players, Felix is clear, and on top of that, with, well, hopefully Laduni going out for some money, I'm in a position where if I can get more than £10 million for him, with Felix coming in for £5 million, it just feels sensible. That all said, I do still need a striker. One player who I looked at a little bit last season, and then he went on loan away, was Malik Tillman, who is part German, on loan from Bayern at Nashville. Is it just called Nashville? Nashville SC. I knew it wasn't FC. I knew there was a catch. Apparently they have no history whatsoever. Like most of MLS. Okay, it's not even true, is it? He's valued at between 4.8 and 5.8 million pounds. He's a good player, consistent performer, can play in a few different areas as well. I'm not sure he's exactly what I'm looking for in a striker, but I feel like he does tick a lot of boxes. Apparently Bayern want between 750,000 and £4 million. He has already played for 2 clubs this year, but that doesn't matter because that will reset in July. I'm going to offer them 2 million. They accepted a £5 million bid before. They're going to want a similar bid again here. I don't feel like he's worth that much. It could be a hot take. I don't think he's that good. I'm going to offer 3.5 million. We're getting warmer. £4 million. We're still getting what? Okay, 4.2. Shake on it. Hopefully he actually wants to join me now. He's very interested in negotiating terms. £26,000 to £34,000 per week. I like the fact he's really, really versatile. He's probably not the nailed-on striker that we're looking for, but he's the kind of man who could slot in at striker, could slot in a few different areas, and I feel like the price is right. He wants to be a squad player. Incidentally, he wants to be an Enganche. No one grows up wanting to be an Enganche. Malik, let's get that out of there, mate. Let's get you signing a deal. Because he's coming from Bayern, his wage demands were a little higher than I wanted them to be, but we have got a bit more money to play with this year, and I think £36,000 is fine. I feel like he could be a useful striker for us. Playing as an advanced forward, I think he's got that physicality about him. He's only just turned 22. He could get even better. The versatility's nice as well. I mean, at this rate, we could just end up playing strikerless. Is strikerless still a thing? There's a seed planted in my head now. Jordan didn't really perform for us that much this year. He's in the last year of his contract anyway as well. On the flip side, Tillman, few more upsides in terms of his versatility, potential for the future. Yeah, I'm happy with this as a deal. Okay, Bright Arian B, welcome to the club. £1.3 million. I think that's a bargain. Has just dawned on me, we've qualified for the European football again. I haven't got any more homegrown at club players. That problem's not been solved yet. I need to resist the urge to sign all these youth players that I'm scouting that play in the national youth teams. I mean, there's some players here like Tim Meyer who they're never going to be good enough for me. But my scouts say they could be good. They give the player a B and I get all excited. Don't mind me just looking through the German under-20s, looking at striking options. Raul Koenig here, I shouldn't be signing. I really shouldn't. No, we're not signing. He's got the name Raul and he's a striker, so I thought he might be good, but no, it's not how it works. I have been trying to sell Laduni. No one wants to buy Laduni. I don't know if this is going to be a problem. Let's offer him out for an unspecified amount. He's already transfer listed. The good news is his contract doesn't actually expire for 2 years. So I can try and force him out the club, try and find him a move. If it doesn't materialise this summer, it's not necessarily the end of the world because we won't just lose him on a free at the end of the season. Felix is set to join the club at £2.8 million, obviously £5 million total. He comes in to be a start centre mid. I'm hoping he's going to be a good addition. Elsewhere, I have got the option to confirm the signing of Malik Tillman. I'm very tempted just to delay this for a week. I wouldn't mind having a look at a few more strikers. Really, at this point, I'd like the season tick-over date, you know, where the game kind of updates all the league tables and sometimes team reputations get shuffled a little. I'm just curious to see if that impacts the kind of players we might be able to attract. I do also need to look at right attacking mids. I need someone who can cut inside. There's a number of players when I do this filter who are players I've already looked at a little bit. Players like Jonathan Burkhardt, great player, probably would be a quality signing, but for 14 to 21 million... it's just too much for where we are right now. The more I look through the list of strikers available, sorted by potential, sorted by ability, the more, to be honest, Tillman looks like an absolute bargain. Another player who has come up here is Quinn Sullivan, who's an interesting centre mid. I'm looking for that player to play out on the right, cutting in on his left foot, so Quinn's not really that guy. I'm also not entirely sure he's worth £11 million. I mean, he's not worth £11 million. I went into today's transfer special thinking, you know what? I won't need 2 parts of a transfer special like I did towards the end of Park to Prem to get all my transfer business done. You know, we won't need 20, 30 to 40 minute videos to get things done. I'm already questioning that. I've only played 10 days. Thailand Balut has been transfer listed. He's one of the players who I've been looking at. He plays for Schalke. Of course, Schalke missed out on promotion. He's got a transfer value of 4.2 million. Has that changed? No, I guess it's just a release clause. It is a release clause. 4.4 million pounds is the release clause. He's a good player. He's 18 as well. I don't need more defenders. I don't need more defenders. But I am so tempted. Jack, stay strong. Once I get the second team, you know, I might sign some more defenders. Whether or not signing another defender for £4.2 million is smart remains to be seen. Elsewhere, apparently, I'm going in for Neco Williams. I can tell you now, I'm not, because I've used my wildcard signing on Zakharyan already. I am slightly nervous that, like, some unbelievable wildcard signing pops up and I regret moving for Zakharyan early. But I couldn't afford not to sign him, I feel like, on a free transfer. If someone else had gone in for him and Leicester were sniffing around, wouldn't be able to forgive myself. I don't want to pat myself on the back too much. Bundesliga signings of the season, runners-up Ngankam and Alex Scott, both my players. Good job, Jack. I didn't know there was a Super Cup in Germany. We get to play Bayern Munich to start the season. Yay! Here are the season expectations. I could change them to get a little bit more money. Do I think I can make the knockout stages the Europa League? I probably do, but for the amount of money they're actually giving me for doing that, I don't think it's worth upgrading the kind of expectations there. I'm going to play it safe and boring. That's who I am. More exciting news. The B team has been founded. A background. There's no history for our B team because they didn't exist until now. But I love the fact they're telling me about the background of a club that has just formed. We are going to take control of individual training, confirm that. Now we get the little B team icon at the bottom. And incidentally, the game has already put a load of my players in the B team that it thinks belong there. Mousehund, you're meant to be with them. Once Kratenmacher and Sidi Sane are back from their loans, our B team is going to look really stacked. I hope they get promoted, otherwise I will be sad. Okay, Schäfer is trying to move away from the club, but no one's really putting in a bid that I can seriously consider. Schalke have locked in at 2.1 million. America over in Mexico, of all places, have offered 2.4 million. I feel like with those kind of offers, I'd be more inclined just to keep him around even if he is unhappy. That said, I do have to remind myself, he is in the last year of his contract, so maybe, just maybe, I should be willing to take any money I can. Schäfer is unhappy that I didn't accept the America bid, and then Schalke have just bid 2.1 million. It's not the money I wanted for him. I think it's the money we just have to accept we are just going to have to get for him, because he's just going to get upset otherwise. Worth noting, it's June 21st. The season has now ticked over. This might just slightly alter some of the players we can possibly sign. We've got a lot of players whose contracts are expiring, and it is going to be saving us a pretty penny longer term. So we could look to rejig some of the wage budget now into transfer budgets. Kevin Shade would be a really interesting player to pick up from Brentford. You can see signed for them, moved over to the Premier League, has not excelled there. 2 goals in 26 games playing out on the right-hand side. He's a pacey player. He's a good player. We've been doing some really good bargain hunting. This is not a bargain at £12 million, is it? Yeah, Christopher Tremel. He's going to Montpellier. I need to pick a new captain. Who am I going to pick? I can't pick Daniel, can I? I can't pick any of it. None of these are starters. I think I'm going to go with Forsby just because he's got okay leadership, but he's got kind of model citizen personality, and he is someone who I'm pretty confident is going to be playing on the regular for us as our more defensively minded midfielder. Do I want to sell Jordan? Do I want to sell Jordan? I feel like we should be selling Jordan. He wasn't very good. If he didn't score, he played really, really badly. And in the last year of his contract, I don't think we're going to get any more money than we're getting for him right now. It's 6.5 million. We get 5.5 million of it to reinvest. We already have Tillman, who I think is going to be a pretty adequate replacement. Yeah, I'm doing it. I mean, it's done now. I can't go back. I have also just asked for confirmation on the Tillman deal. With one deal happening, we'll make sure the other deal goes through as well. Schäfer's leaving the club for £2.1 million. To all the Hungarian viewers who were fist bumping just a few episodes ago, I'm sorry. Truth be told, he just didn't feature in the first team enough. He's not been particularly good for us, but he was signed for less than £1 million. We're selling him for more than double that. I think that's good. How many German youth team players did I scout? These scout reports are still coming through now, although I think in the case of Makoko, he might not be possible to sign unless... I was going to say unless Dortmund want to loan him to me. Yeah, they're not going to loan him to me. Just looking at the calendar here, I'll tell you what, the 1st of July, that's going to be a fun day. There's lots of stuff happening then. Jonathan Tah is transfer listed for £5.8 million. Now, he's not the player he once was in Football Manager terms. But for £5.8 million, am I going crazy? He's not as good as he was. But am I going crazy thinking he'd still be a good little player? Like, currently I'm looking at playing Flick as right centre-back for the coming season. That because I do think he's just better than Poole here if we compare the two of them. Heinz has this release clause that could get triggered. I mean, Jonathan Tah versus him. But he's just a household name in Football Manager terms. I shouldn't do it. I'm not going to do it. I feel like this season we're completely changing the attack. The defence needs to be the bit of consistency that we maintain. Didn't realise this. Forsby's contract's up at the end of the year, but I've got an option to trigger it for another year. So we'll just trigger the extra year. The transfer window is open. When I hit continue here, a lot's about to happen. Lots of players joining us, plenty of players leaving us. I feel like we've had a surprisingly high turnover of players here at Union Berlin. Part of that obviously has been because I've decided to do it. The other part of it has just been because fundamentally this squad is massively underrated in Football Manager and we need to improve it. And improve it, I mean, I think we have with all of these new additions. It's a lot of players we've signed. Didn't realise this, by the way. The Diogo Leite sale is a club record sale for the club. £11 million for this guy, I feel like is really, really good. I hate the fact that as soon as he leaves us, though, his value goes up. We've had some bids for Jekyll here. I mean, Jekyll, I'm not even sure he's going to be my starting centre-back this year. I think I'm going to be starting with Flick over him. Is that a hot take to go with Flick? Not as good defensively, but a much more complete player. With that in mind, some of these bids I'm getting for a player who I'm not even going to use are crazy. I mean, Dortmund are offering more than Hertha are, but apparently Hertha's his preferred destination. How much money can I get off Dortmund? He's good. He's not that good. I might be pushing my luck here. I'm going to ask for 7.5 million up front, 7.5 million in 6 months. They've not told me to piss off, so I suppose that's a positive. I suggested £12 million. I feel like I have to accept £12 million. I will issue an ultimatum to Hertha Berlin. Pretty confident they don't have £12 million. I mean, as good as Paul here is, he wasn't irreplaceable for us last year. And I do just think Flick is better. He played midfield for us a lot last year. This year, he is going to be our centre-back. I've had some loan offers for Laduni. They're not really of the kind of money I need them to be of, though. Let's cancel those. I'm going to offer him out for 15 million. See if we get any nibbles. Okay, Eintracht Frankfurt have made a bid for Laduni. They've offered me 11.25 million locked in. I have to take that money. 11.25 million pounds to him. Another, 12 million pounds for Jekyll as well? That's 23 million pounds that we can reinvest into this squad. And the players that we're selling here are players who probably weren't going to be starting for us this coming season. One player whose name I've not uttered at any point during this save game is Jamie Llewellyn. He is a player who was out on loan last season when I'd already come in. He was at Stuttgart. He's not a bad player. He's not a great player, but he might actually be a bit of a useful backup in the final third, given the current situation at least. I've attempted to block out kind of a rough starting 11 here and bench. It's a pretty good bench on the whole. Obviously, there's a few key players that are very likely to be leaving the club in the immediate future, but the kind of money we're getting for them is going to offer some really nice reinvestment. I mentioned it earlier, but originally I was going to try and get all the transfer window done in a singular episode, but given the fact that we could be about to receive another £20 million to spend, I think this is going to require a part 2. Now, of course, I have done 2-part transfer specials in the past. It allows me to not rush through things quite as much. I can show a little bit more of the inner workings, some of the transfers that maybe don't work out, some of the player searching process. I also appreciate that we've got lots of new viewers to the channel as of late. So if be you a returning viewer or one of the new 1,000+ people who have subscribed in the last week, I would love to know your thoughts on this episode, especially if you've got until the end. So with that all said and done, I think we're going to hold our horses here for now. We could be about, as I said, to make £23 million. We could be about to have a really big second chapter to a transfer window. What happens in that next chapter? You'll have to be back on Monday for more. I think there might be some new big buildings coming. If it was a game of Monopoly, hotels are being put on the board on Monday. You're going to want to be here. Take it easy. I'll see you all again very soon. And until next time, it's me, Jack, and I'll talk to you in a bit. I'm out.